So what I'd like to do to respect Colleen's time, Colleen LaMere is a registered dietitian, and I'm going to let her do a better job of introducing herself. And I'm going to turn this over to you, Colleen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Um, like we're just saying, my name is Colleen LaMere. I've been a registered dietitian for forever. I have 3 wonderful children and a wonderful husband of 38 years. Right now, for the last several years, I've actually been working in long-term care, I have been a dietitian for a really long time, working right now in skilled nursing facilities, mostly long-term care, assisted living, those kind of things. I have some experience with respiratory problems, but I wouldn't call myself, a respiratory dietitian. But let me see if I can help you get something out of what we're talking about. So people who have respiratory problems, they can benefit from a healthy diet. A healthy diet won't cure someone with COPD or someone with any of the other respiratory problems, but it can help you fight infections, including chest infections that sometimes will lead you into the hospital. So that's one of the things, that's the main thing I want to just touch on, is a healthy diet. Maintaining good nutrition on top of dealing with all the conditions of your respiratory problems, but shouldn't have to be boring or difficult. It's really quite simple. It makes you feel better. Eating healthfully just makes you feel better. So that's the big thing. When you use food for energy or to fuel your activities that you do, oxygen and food work to process the food you consume. That process is called metabolism. So carbon dioxide is a waste product of metabolism. And metabolism of carbohydrates produces the most carbon dioxide. So that's one of the biggest differences between eating for your respiratory system and normal everybody else's healthy diets. The metabolism of carbohydrates produces the most carbon dioxide, and the metabolism of fat has the least amount of carbon dioxide produced. Is everything okay?
Yeah, just somebody come in.
Oh, okay. So because of that, sometimes it's better for someone with COPD or some other respiratory problems to eat a diet that is higher in fat and a little bit lower in carbohydrates than our normal healthy diet. So a couple of quick nutrition guidelines before we get started on my slides. A proper mix of nutrients will help you breathe easier. Going back to the carbohydrates and fats though, because carbohydrates provide so many needed things, some vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, it's really good. You need to make sure that you're eating a carbohydrate, eating some carbohydrates, but you want to choose those that actually, pack a big punch. So a well-nourished body obviously can handle infections and more other serious ailments. So a healthy weight also, you don't want to be too healthy, but you don't want to be overweight either. Those kind of things just, it's easier to breathe when you're not, when you're not too heavy. But when you are losing weight, it's harder for your muscles to breathe too. Avoiding things that cause gas. You've all probably had this happen if you're eating gassy foods and all of a sudden you're getting some burping or some belching. That's sometimes harder it's a little harder to catch your breath. So eating foods that are not going to cause those problems, smaller meals 4 to 6 times a day will help the diaphragm move more freely, and your lungs easier to fill with air. So drinking liquids is also, you might want, if that's causing a problem when you're eating, catching your breath. You might want to try to drink at other times, not drinking with your meals. So let me go to some of my slides here. Let me get, if I can not lose you while I'm doing this. Share my screen. All right, can you see my screen? Not yet, probably, huh?
There, we got it.
It's not completely, there we go. Better?
Yes.
Okay, so can I get you up differently than this? Oops, did I lose everybody? No.
No, you're still there.
Okay. So a balanced diet will help you reduce the inflammation. A healthful diet can help prevent or manage those adverse health effects of COPD. So COPD, a lung condition characterized by airflow limitation. We all know that. There we go. So again, reducing inflammation, maintaining and improving muscle strength, improving lung function, lowering metabolic and heart disease. These are all things that a balanced diet can help people with COPD and other respiratory problems. So you want to make sure that your diet is rich in antioxidants, rich in anti-inflammatory foods. I'm going to go through some of those things in a little bit, but I just want to get a quick little overview with the slideshow. Want to maintain your weight, make sure that your lifestyle is active. So foods to eat. You want to choose the complex carbohydrates. Want to limit simple sugars. Complex carbohydrates contain long particles of sugar molecules. It takes a long time for your body to break these down to use as energy. So you don't just, so simple sugars, if you're eating a candy bar, something like that, or a cookie or a piece of pie, you know that your energy level gets really high for a little while, but then it kind of drops down pretty quickly. So complex carbohydrates provide a relatively sustained release of energy. So it helps you keep that energy for a little bit longer period of time. So what are complex carbohydrates? Fresh fruits, starchy vegetables, whole grains, things that say breads. You want to make sure that breads that you're eating, the first ingredient is a whole grain, say like whole wheat or whole rye, something like that. Whole grain bread and pasta, like I just said, beans and lentils, anything that's going to take a little bit long. You can actually feel the fullness of it when you're eating it. The next, let's see. Oh, so if somebody that wants to gain weight, eating a variety of complex carbohydrates and a little bit, an extra sources of fat and protein, a little bit more complex carbohydrates can help with a little bit of weight gain. Sometimes it's difficult to do that, but if you can get a little bit more of those things into your diet, it's a little bit easier to gain weight. Alternately, if a person with COPD has a little bit of extra body fat to lose, replacing those refined carbohydrates or the carbohydrate sources with protein and healthful fat can promote some weight loss. So you want to just take away some of those things. Pretty simple. So everyone really should aim for about 20 to 30 grams of fiber each day. Fiber is found in lots of different things, but you want to make sure that you're eating a whole foods diet. So eating beans and fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole grains, instead of things like prepared meals, frozen meals, those kind of things. Because that if you're eating, say, frozen lasagna, it always comes to mind. You're going to have less fiber with a serving of a frozen lasagna, even than the serving of a lasagna even that you made by yourself. You can add things like higher fiber pasta and some vegetables in there. So you want to make sure that you're eating clean. Again, beans, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole grains. 20 to 30 grams of fiber. Those are all fiber you can find on your nutrition label. So you should always be looking for fiber and make sure you can get as much as you possibly can. Protein, of course, I'm not sure why this slide says that people in Vietnam, because they did a study, but everyone who has COPD or respiratory problems definitely has an increased protein need. So you want to make sure that you're eating good quality proteins and snacks, meals and snacks. And it just improving your nutritional status and quality of life, your muscle, even including your diaphragm. The key though here is to eat good sources. You want to make sure that those protein sources are high quality, grass-fed beef or chicken, poultry and eggs and fish, especially oily fish. People don't really think of that. They think of maybe white fishes, but oily fishes such as salmon and mackerel and sardines, those things are going to be better for you than say, a T-bone steak or something like that. You're going to have a better quality of the protein with those kind of things. Meat and poultry, fish, eggs, nuts and seeds, legumes. So the nuts and seeds and legume will definitely give you a little bit more fiber, and they're going to have some complex carbohydrates in there too. So those are good to get in every day. Tofu, cheeses, milks, all of these things are a pretty good high quality source of protein. Also, the protein sources help increase your muscle mass. Again, like I said, even your diaphragm, you want to make sure that all of your muscles are pretty toned. Helps you just breathe better, makes you feel better. It helps fight infections. So adding high quality protein sources or swapping out carbohydrate sources with helpful proteins may promote some weight loss. Just like, we always talk about, athletes, they eat a little bit more protein with a little bit less fat and a little bit less carbohydrates. That's generally a good thing, when you're in at least a chronic stage of your disease. Acute stages are a little bit different, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So mono and polyunsaturated fats, these are the healthy fats. It helps you lower your cholesterol, gets some well-needed fats into your diet, including some vegetable oils, olive oil. Oh, I got a little typo in there. Olive oily, avocado oil, certain fishes. Again, like I said before, salmon, mackerel, sardines. Those kind of fish is going to have some good fats, for omega-3 fats for you. Nuts and seeds and avocados. Don't forget your avocados. Those are power packs for antioxidants too. So you're going to need to get some fats in there too. So I'm talking a lot about weight gain, weight loss. Again, if you are wanting to lose weight, you want to take a little bit of that fat away. If you wanted to gain weight, you want to try to increase a little bit more into your diet. So foods to avoid. This is what you're all looking for, I'm sure. Simple carbohydrates. They don't give you enough of anything, really. So table sugar, chocolate or candy, cakes and other sugary desserts, pies, cookies. Sugary drinks, I think, is probably the worst one because it's very easy. I always tell people who even don't have, respiratory problems, but, people who have even cardiac problems or other things going on, don't drink your calories. Just, you don't want to be using all of those calories for one thing, because they're not going to give you anything back for it. Your energy level is going to spike and then it's going to drop off. Processed foods, a lot of sugar added to that processed food, just like that the frozen lasagna that we talked about. Lots of they add sugar and they add salt into things like those processed lasagnas, just so it'll make them taste better. That's pretty much why. White bread and pasta, same thing. They're not giving you enough of the nutrients that you need to be beneficial. Unhealthful fats. So just think of animal products when you're thinking of unhealthful fats. Those fats are going to be hard on your cardiac system, which consequently will be hard on your respiratory system. You should limit them or avoid or limit them as much as you possibly can. These things, fast food. My kids always say that I think that fast food has ruined the world, and I pretty much can attest to the fact. I think that people are fatter and less healthy because of those kind of things, fast foods and sugary drinks. But bacon and other processed meats, again, they're not giving you the right fats. They're giving you a lot of fat, but they're not giving you the right fats. Fried foods, sugary pastries, anything that they're going to, use lard or, extra Crisco or something like that into the pastries. Margarine and ice cream, same thing. Anything that is a fat that is a solid at room temperature is not the healthiest fat. If you can change even using margarine and start using olive oil would help a little bit. If you do nothing else but change a little bit of your fats. So I'm done with those little slides, but so I just want to go over just a couple of things that I didn't make onto my slides, but a couple of other things that I want to make sure that you are avoiding is too much salt. Salt in your diet causes water retention, and that obviously affects your ability to breathe. So remove the salt shaker from your table. Don't add it to your cooking. Try to use, I know you've probably heard this a million times because dietitians love to say that, don't salt things, but use herbs and spices to flavor your food instead. If you need a little bit of salt, that's okay, but just definitely take it off of your table. You don't need extra salt on your foods after that. Sodium intake generally doesn't come from your salt shaker, though. That's the big misdemeanor. I mean, most people who their doctors have told them to limit their salts are not actually salting their foods. They're eating processed foods. They're eating deli meats. And the biggest culprit that most people don't think of when trying to follow a lower salt diet is breads and rolls. You don't think of breads and rolls being really high in sodium, but that's one of the top sodium full items that you can eat. So want to make sure that if you are a big sandwich lover or someone who loves their breads and rolls at meal times, make sure that you're reading your labels. Read your labels, and you don't want to have any kind of food that's going to have more than 300 milligrams of sodium per serving. So your whole meal should never have more than about 600 milligrams of sodium. Sodium is one of those things that we still keep on our food labels, and hopefully that'll always stay like that. So you want to make sure that that 600 milligrams per meal, you're following that pretty closely. So also things that cause you, I talked a little bit on the beginning of this, that causes you bloating or gas, foods that make people uncomfortable. A lot of stone fruits, fruits like apricots and peaches, and even melons, they cause some people some problems because the carbohydrate starts to ferment before we're actually even absorbing it. So some of those things will cause bloating or gas. Other people, it's things like apples, but mostly those stone fruits and melons are sometimes problematic. If they're not problematic for you, then go ahead and keep eating them. But if they are causing you some gas and some difficulty breathing, you might want to check on that. Some people don't even realize that that would be the problem, but just try to remember, if you do have problems with gas or problems with bloating, reflecting on your breathing, you want to make sure, or you want to kind of think about the foods that you are eating, because those might be a problem. You can, if those are a problem, you can always, change those too. There's so many, living in our world today, we don't have to always wait until seasonal fruits, even though it's probably better that we do. But we can always get things like berries and pineapples and grapes and those kind of things that are generally easier on our systems. So you can try that. Those ones that are not problematic. Some vegetables and legumes also cause that bloating and gas. Things like beans and Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, corn, some lentils and onions and peas for some people. Soybeans also might cause some gas. So again, if you are not bothered by those things, those kind of foods, I would continue to eat them. But if they do bother you, you might want to either limit them or avoid them altogether. Dairy products, even though they're a good source of protein, they're not, they also can cause such milk and cheese, especially yogurt to a little bit less extent, but they might make your phlegm a little thicker. Some people it doesn't bother at all. Some people it's really problematic. So if dairy is fine with you, if you don't see that increase in if making your phlegm worse, then you can continue obviously to drink or to eat those dairy products. But if your phlegm is getting thicker, coughing and, with those things, you might want to think about the diet or the dairy in your diet and avoid those. Chocolate also can interfere with some of your medications. So you want to check with your, even if your pharmacist, you could check with your pharmacist to see if there's any drug and nutrient interactions that you should be worried about. And don't forget to watch what you're drinking. You definitely want to make sure that you're drinking at least 6 to 8 glasses of non-caffeinated beverages a day. Water, of course, being the best. Sugary drinks, like I said, definitely the worst. But limiting caffeine sometimes is helpful too. It could not only affect your breathing and the anxiety of it, but it also can affect interfere with some of your medications. So things like coffee, tea, soda, energy drinks, like Red Bull that all the kids are drinking these days. And ask your doctor about alcohol if you are drinking. You might be advised to avoid or limit alcohol. Again, mostly because of the medications that you may or may not be taking. Also, the alcohol could slow down your breathing rate, and obviously that's not going to be so great, and might make it difficult to cough up any phlegm that will or might be in your lungs. So the last thing I want to talk to you about a little bit is just watching your weight, both on the heavy side or on the too thin side. And if you're overweight, your heart and lungs have to work harder, making breathing more difficult. Excess body weight may increase the demand for oxygen. So a healthy weight and getting to a healthy weight should be a priority. You can, talk to your doctor or your a dietitian that, could help you with a diet specifically for yourself. Same thing with your underweight. Sometimes COPD in itself can cause a lack of appetite. It can cause depression or feeling unwell in general. That is kind of a catch-22. If you're feeling unwell, you don't have an appetite, or sometimes depressed, you don't want to eat. And so then you are more prone to weight loss, and then more prone to infections too. So you're using a lot of breathing, or a lot of energy just breathing. So you want to make sure that you're definitely getting enough calories. There is I don't want to say the wrong name. Sorry, I should have had this right with me. it's called, let's say 20 or 25 to 40% of people with advanced COPD develop something that's called pulmonary cachectic syndrome. It's a metabolic condition that causes muscle wasting and weight loss. People with PEs also get this pretty regularly. Some of the causing factors are widespread or systemic inflammation, hypermetabolism or not enough calories eaten, increasing calorie or increasing energy needs with your breathing, of course, and muscle atrophy resulting in inactivity. And also some of your medications for COPD could cause this actual syndrome. So once again, it's more like a catch-22 thing. So, if you have some infections or systemic inflammation, you're not going to want to eat very much, and it only can get it worse. If you're not eating enough calories, it just keeps, kind of progressing the same thing. Same thing with your energy needs. If you're not as well, or you're not well, eating enough calories might be hard to do. So that's one of the things that I want to make sure that everyone kind of thinks about. And your energy needs is probably the biggest deal. One other, just by preparing. Sometimes when you are preparing your meals, it gets a little tiring. So batch cooking or eating several times a day, smaller meals, batch cooking, using your crock pot to, make a big pot of something instead of having to cook every day. Eating your main meal earlier in the day when you are fresher and you're feeling a little bit more energetic is probably a better time. Don't save that big dinner meal or supper meal for 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Maybe that one should be coming, should come to you about noon instead. Make sure that you're comfortable in your spot where you're eating. Sitting up straight at a table with a high back chair is going to be a little bit easier for you to eat than sitting on the couch or in bed. So you want to make sure that if you're able, sit up straight, get out at the table, and that's sometimes easier. Just sitting upright, using gravity to pull some of that food down into your stomach, so you're not using that energy to be breathing while you're eating at the same time. And the last thing is there might be a time where supplements might be it might be advantageous. You might want to consider something like Ensure or Boost or a product like that to make sure that you're getting enough calories. Some of these are a lower carbohydrate, and a higher protein and higher fat. Some of these products are that. So you want to make sure that you're looking for the right ones too. So. But that's pretty much all I have. I'm hoping that there's some questions, though. I know that's kind of general and vague for the most part, but just healthy eating is healthy eating is healthy eating. So most people know what to do. It's just doing it is sometimes the hard part. So any questions, Don, if you can?
Colleen,
Yes, sir.
what about chi?
Chi?
Yes, the clarified butter is what it is.
Oh yeah, I anything that's going to have any fat that's going to be animal based is not going to be as healthy for you. It's going to give you the fat, it's going to give you the calories that you need, but it's not going to give you anything else. It's also going to be a little bit harder on your heart and your cardiac system than than olive oil or corn or safflower oil or any of the other oils. So I don't really know that much about chi to give a good explanation, but I would say that if you can stick with the monounsaturated fats and the polyunsaturated fats, you're going to be a little bit better.
Kind of statement too. I came over this. I don't know if you can see it.
All I can see is that darn palm tree in your background.
Okay, it's called Palm In, PALIN. It's a hearts of palm, shredded hearts of palm that you
Okay.
use instead of linguine or anything like that.
Okay.
And I was really surprised how good it was.
Good, good. Yeah, so they're making, and you can get at most of the bigger grocery stores now, any of those vegetables. I mean, they literally just string them so it looks like spaghetti or it looks like linguine. And you're right. I mean, we used to, like in the olden days, I remember giving my kids spaghetti squash. You know, you just kind of take the squash and you use your fork and make them kind of spaghetti-ish. They caught on to me pretty quickly, but these are a little bit, these newer pasta alternatives are definitely better. And yes, all it is vegetables. I mean, it's just the hearts of palm that they have made into the generally. Some of the other ones, the pasta alternatives, they have, you know, there are some with brown rice and some with quinoa instead of the vegetable based ones. They're just based with a different grain. They're good too. They, again, you're going to get a lot of, especially those kind of things, you're going to get a lot of fiber in both the vegetable based ones and these other ones, quinoa or brown rice based ones. You have to, I do have to say, play with them a little. You might, the vegetable ones are a little bit easier to cook, with the brown rice ones, the quinoa, and they have lots of different ones, but making them is a little bit different. They sometimes will stick together differently than pasta. They might not take quite as long, or they might take longer to cook. But anything that's going to give you a little bit more fiber, I'm all for. So. What else? Anybody else? Nothing.
What is your take on some of the natural artificial sweeteners?
I always think if this is a tough one because I get it a lot. I think something real is going to be better. I'm not in that whole realm of, you know, you're going to get cancer if you're eating, you know, you have to be eating a lot of sweet and low to be getting cancer from the sweet and low. The problem I see with some sweeteners is that your taste buds tend to get used to the super sweetness of it. And oftentimes your body kind of, it reacts to it and it wants more. So what happens is a lot of people are eating more because the taste of the sweetness trains their taste buds really to want more. So that's why a lot of people who are, you know, on diets or constantly on diets, these people that are drinking, you know, 4 or 5 Diet Cokes a day, but they are, you know, always saying that they're on a diet. They don't get enough sweet. So it kind of fakes your blood sugar into dropping off, and then you'll be hungry. And so I think a lot of people who are choosing artificial sweeteners with things like sodas or you know, if you're putting it in your tea, it's making things super sweet. If you are a person that can limit the amount you're using, if you just want a little bit of sweetness, I think it's great. I mean, because, you know, it will give you a little bit of flavor, but not, you know, you don't want it to be too sweet. If you're a person that is keeps putting more and more and more into your tea or into your, you know, whatever you're making, because it's not sweet enough, I think that would be a problem. I think that I think it just makes people eat more than they normally would if they went. So I would try to train yourself not to eat those, not to want those super sweet things.
Yeah. Colleen, I never want to put anybody on the spot, but I do want your opinion on something, and it's okay not to have an opinion. I actually spoke with a doctor last week. We were just going over different things. I always like to educate myself.
Mhm.
And she was saying it's a myth that all of the hoopla related to coconut oil and how coconut oil is the best oil to use. She said it's nothing but a myth. And I said, you need to help me understand, because if it's a myth, I want to understand why so I can share that with others. She really didn't give me a good reason other than to say it's a saturated fat.
Right. So I do have to agree with her. I think that we as people want that next thing. And coconut oil for a while was that next thing. It seems to have gone out of favor of late, because now we have beets. And beets are the big thing. Beets are the thing that are going to, bring our blood pressure down and our blood sugars normal, blah, blah, blah. I think that people make it more complicated than it is. If we're eating a variety of foods, if we can eat more plant-based than animal-based, which is the saturated fats, that the coconut oil is one of those plant-based fats that's an actual saturated fat, more so like the animal products. So coconut oil is different than olive oil or safflower oil or one of these other oils that are not saturated. So you can tell if something is saturated if it is at room temperature, a solid, which coconut oil is. So that's the saturation in the fat. It is not great for your circulatory system. Again, the circulatory system and the respiratory system work so closely together. You want to make sure that you're eating well for both of those systems, not just for one of those systems. That's where I'm saying I don't want people to just eat a ketogenic diet and forget all of the carbohydrates, because you need some of those carbohydrates. Same thing with the fat. You need some of those fats, but you don't need, you don't want to cut any one thing out of your diet except for sugars and things that are not going to give you anything. So I think a little bit of coconut oil, but I had friends that were like, they called it sucking the coconut oil, and they would literally have coconut oil in their mouth for, a good 5 or 10 minutes and then swallow it. I don't know what that was all about. Scientifically, I could not tell you why they were doing it. That was just something that they were doing. And a doctor had told them that this was good, or a holistic doctor or something. But scientifically, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm kind of in the same boat as the doctor you were speaking to. I don't think that coconut oil is something that we should, forget or never eat again, because coconuts, but I would not just take the coconut oil. I would eat the coconut. Eat the shreds, put those on in your yogurt or something like that, and get your coconut oil that way, not through just the oil. So I think that people, we want the next thing. We want to be healthy, and if we can eat one thing or do one thing, that would be wonderful. But that's just not the way it works. So,
can you speak to the value or the necessity, if there is one, of organic fruits and vegetables rather than just regular
ones? Well, if you have the means, go ahead and eat the organic. Does it make that much different? Probably not. If you are, make sure that you are washing your fruits and vegetables well when you get them. My bigger thing is let's try to eat locally. You're not going to get the extra, pesticides and preservatives in foods, fruits and vegetables, if we're eating locally. There are some things obviously that we can't get local, pineapples, they don't grow pineapples here in Virginia. So I would have to go outside of a locality for that. But if your community, is known for their apples, and this time of year, get the local apples. They don't have to move as far. So that's the biggest thing. The organic fruits and vegetables are going to. I wouldn't say that they're healthier. They're going to give you the same amount of vitamins, antioxidants. But they will give you some, other, pesticides or a little bit of preservative that they add to the outside. Is it going to be terrible for you? No. If you can afford them, sure. I got to tell you, I don't buy all organic things. I do have clients who will not eat anything but organic. I am pretty religious about, washing my fruits and vegetables. I'm very religious about washing my fruits and vegetables. But I don't eat all organic. I don't think that anybody can. And if you can, I think that you might not be, you might think you are, but you're probably not. I think though that, if we can eat less preservatives and less pesticides, obviously the better it's going to be for our rate of developing cancer in our lifetime. But if we're eating locally, we will be doing the same thing. So I think it's better. It's better for our communities, and the fruits and vegetables will be better if they don't have to go across the country for it. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anybody?
I have 2 questions. One is, my brother swears that you shouldn't eat canola oil. He says it's an artificially made oil and it's really not good for you. And the other thing was about, the nitrates. You see a lot of the bacons and things now say uncured, no nitrates. Can you speak on those 2 things?
Yeah,
please?
so let's take the second one first, the nitrates. So when we are talking about both salt in our diet and fats and processed foods, those kind of things, if you can avoid them at all costs, I would. Once again, it's pretty difficult. I mean, if you love to have breakfast, on Sunday mornings and you want your bacon, you're gonna be getting some nitrates. Same thing with any of the deli meats. You could go to one dietitian who will say, oh yeah, make sure you're getting, some protein and put some turkey from the deli on your salad or something like that. But those nitrates are, they're really loaded with salt. Someone with respiratory problems, you don't want to get that extra salt. It's just going to make it more difficult for you to breathe. If any more edema or swelling in your body, it just swells those cells, so it's going to be harder for you to breathe. So, I just said try not to eat or nothing, or make sure you're eating, a little bit of something. But those are the things, along with those simple carbohydrates, those things like bacon and deli meats and, ultra processed foods, you should really try to avoid. They're not giving you anything. A piece of bacon and even a piece of ham from the deli, they might want to try to put that in your protein list, but you're really not, especially the bacon. You're definitely going to have, the bacon is just going to be in your fat list, not in your protein list. So it's not really giving you anything but a little bit of saturated fats, which is going to be not good for your heart. So try to avoid those, anything with those nitrates, other cured meats, pepperoni and salami and those kind of things are all included in that. And really any processed foods, any of the frozen meals, and they're going to have, a lot of those nitrates in there too. So you want to try to avoid those as much as possible. And those aren't something that you can just look on your food label. So you want to make sure that, you just know that Anything that's processed or salted and dried, they're going to have the nitrates in it. The canola oil is a little bit of a different thing. I also don't think that canola oil is probably the best oil for you, because it's not that it's artificial. It's that some of the bonds have been that normally would, the bonds are keeping the fats together. So in like we said, coconut oil or lard or Crisco, it's that's solid. And what happens is we break those bonds artificially sometimes to make an oil. Say, some of the vegetable oils, we can put bonds back in together to make a margarine, which makes the margarine less healthy than it would have been as an oil. Canola oil just doesn't give us the same amount of unsaturated fat, say like olive oil would be. The thing with canola oil is that it has a very high smoke point. So people like to cook with it, try to fry things with it. But because we're not supposed to be eating a whole lot of fried foods, canola oil would definitely be on my lower end. Safflower oil or even corn oils are going to be probably a better choice. Canola oil is not terrible though. I don't know of a lot of people who would be eating or using a lot of canola oil anyway. If you are making a salad dressing or something, I think that olive oil would probably be your best choice. And I personally, I use a lot of olive oil. So hopefully that answered a little bit. Anything else?
I've got another question.
Sure.
How about things like turmeric and some of your extracts?
Yeah, so turmeric, cinnamon, those are those again are those next things. So turmeric in particular, it's very good for your heart health, very good for your blood pressure. Cinnamon and they're saying is really good for, and turmeric as also keeping your blood sugar level. So you can pretty much buy anything with turmeric in it now. You can buy teas with turmeric, and you can buy spices that have a turmeric blend and blah, blah, blah. The problem being, and you actually can buy turmeric in capsules. The problem being is that it takes a lot of turmeric. Once again, it's almost too much. You have to be consuming a lot of turmeric to have that, huge change in your overall health. You wouldn't be able to eat enough turmeric to make like a quick change in your health. Is it healthy? Absolutely. And should you be using it as a spice? Yes. Should you be drinking turmeric tea? Sure. But once again, it's not going to be that wherewithal, miracle cure for anything. It should be used in your diet just like the other, good for you foods. I wouldn't limit turmeric at all. But is it going to make a huge difference if you're taking a turmeric supplement or drinking turmeric tea every day? Probably not.
Now for the $64,000 question. CBD oil.
Yes. So CBD oil, I think that the theory of it is wonderful. I have a lot of patients that have been helped with anxiety and even with a little bit of an appetite stem, people who are not, not eating a lot or not having a lot of appetite, a little CBD oil seems to help them. My problem with the CBD oil now is that we don't know how much CBD oil is in any one CBD oil. So, if we get to a place where even regular marijuana is going to be, legalized, I think we could probably get a better reading on the CBD oils. Some of them, I think, have just better quality CBD oil, and we don't know which ones those are right now because there's no national testing. So I'm anxiously awaiting that. I think that it's going to be pretty helpful in a lot of different people, including people with respiratory problems, because I think that it would, it would, calm at the time that you need, your muscles to be calm, and maybe even help with some appetite stimulation. But it's not there yet. I'm encouraged though.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm doing a whole lot of that middle of the road kind of speak, but I think that's where I am.
Well, everybody's kind of looking for the holy
Right,
grail,
right. The next big thing.
and it's not fair in
Right. I always tell.
any one thing, and nutrition is so important.
Well, I always tell people that, if it was easy and if there was a pill for most things, then Oprah Winfrey would be very thin and very, very fit all the time, because if it was there, she would have had it before us.
Okay.
Colleen, there's a lot of talk about gut health.
So, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome. Yeah, so gut health is another one of the big things now. And gut health is very important to fight off infection, especially. So if you're eating the way we've talked about, high complex carbohydrates and lots of fiber, and eating whole foods, meaning, not a lot of processed foods, and making sure that you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables and things that you're cooking and not buying already prepared, is going to help that gut health. And what they're talking about generally is your ability to fight infection. If you have good gut health, then your ability to fight infection is going to be better. So pretty much it just means good nutrition. So you just think of your gut as from your mouth to your bottom, and making sure everything in between. Well, that's everything in between. So you want to make sure that you're eating healthfully, and getting those especially the fiber. The fiber is going to be one of those antioxidants that we don't really talk about. But if you're getting enough fiber, your ability to fight infection is going to be greater.
Okay.
So.
What about helpful suggestions for eating wisely when you eat out or order out?
Yeah, so that is, it's bigger now than it even was before, because we're starved for that. We want to be able to go back out to dinner. You can actually request, and it's easier now than it even was before. But you can request, when you order something, that you don't have, the sauce on the pasta, or you don't have, the extra gravy or whatever on things. So if you are able to do some of those things yourself, say you ordered, I don't know, meatloaf with gravy someplace, make it that you can put your own gravy on there. If you can, it's just the same thing with, making, when you order at a table, then you can ask them to, not put the gravy on, or not put the salad dressing on. So those kind of things are pretty, self-explanatory. But make sure that you are choosing places that are buying things locally, and not overcooking and overprocessing them. And that's pretty easy to do now, a lot easier than it was, I'd say, even 10 years ago, because it's a big thing for the restaurants to be using. They'll even advertise, local vegetables or this or that. So make sure that you're choosing those kind of restaurants. And then when you're going to their website to look at their menu, then you can choose things that are, higher in complex carbohydrates, or no carbohydrates at all for you. Just lots of vegetables, or fruit, big salads, and then some high quality proteins. And when you're eating out, it's probably better that you order something like fish, because you're not going to, I mean, most people are still not making fish at home as much as they are, other meats. It's a lot easier to, cook some chicken or cook some beef or pork than it is for most people to do fish. I don't know why. That just seems to be my experience, because it's certainly easy enough to do, but I don't think a lot of people do it. So, ordering things that you normally wouldn't make is probably going to be a healthy option. And then when you do order things, make sure that they're baked or broiled and not fried, because they're just going to add, they'll probably add butter, because people in restaurants want you to like it, and it's going to make it taste good. So make sure it's baked, broiled, and not fried. So but I would go with the vegetables. And
back to gut health for a moment, at least. What do you think of the gummy pieces that I think they're called gummy bars or something?
Yeah, with the fiber.
Yeah, for extra fiber.
Yeah, so
What do you think about the use of those?
You can find gummies in just about everything now. You can buy gummy calciums and gummy fibers and gummy regular vitamins and gummy everything. But I think you're talking about is like the gummies, and you can gummy fibers that have some psyllium in there.
So what do you think of the regular use of those?
I think they're fine. My question is how much actual fiber is in one of the gummies, because you're going to have some sugar, obviously, because it's a gummy. I think that it might be better for your gut health to take something like Metamucil every day. They even have like the wafers that are going to have a little bit more psyllium in than a little gummy would be. You might have to take 10 gummies to get the same amount of psyllium that you would in a teaspoon of Metamucil.
Well, I'm already on board on this, so I have read the directions.
Okay.
It limits you to 2.
So how much fiber are you getting in the 2 gummies, though?
I haven't looked that up.
Okay, so remember, they have to. You want 25 to 30 grams of fiber per day. So check and see if you're getting 5 grams in two gummies a day. That would be okay. I'd be fine with that. If you're getting more, that would be better. My guess is probably not.
Right.
But if you're on board and they're not killing you already, that's probably all right.
Okay. Are you saying that 25 grams is the minimum daily requirement?
Well, they don't really have a daily requirement for it, but for good health, the agreement is 25 to 30 grams per day. Men needing a little bit higher on that level, and women need a little bit lower, only because of our body types and body weight.
Okay, thank you.
So try. I mean, if it's gonna give you enough, great. If it's not, maybe keep it up and maybe take a little bit of Metamucil too.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Colleen, speaking of calm and gummies, in the last couple of months, I've added natural calm to my supplement. It's a magnesium supplement.
So that's got some magnesium and probably some B vitamins too, the little stress relievers.
Yeah. I really beneficial. I have so much more energy now.
Great, good. So if it's working and if it's helping, then that's fine. Usually those supplements are certainly safe. I don't know if they're all that needed, but if you're feeling better, then it's needed.
I don't know what I would have done with this virus if I hadn't had them. I immediately got rid of my anxiety. They work right away.
Great. Yeah. So most people, I would say, probably don't need an extra vitamin or something like that, as long as you're eating a healthy diet. But how many of us actually do that? So again, it's not going to hurt for sure. So go ahead. Good. I'm glad it's making you feel better.
Me too. Thanks.
Great.
The other things you said earlier about good nutrition, I started doing away with bread and white spaghetti and rice in February, and I don't have any swollen ankles anymore.
Great.
So
yes. Yeah,
And
that really, yeah, it makes a difference because especially that white bread has a lot of sodium in it. So the swelling of your feet does not surprise me at all.
they look exactly like they did when I was young. It's amazing.
Sweet, wear that short skirt then.
How, you don't want to see the rest of my life.
Well, I do think that eating a healthful diet will certainly, it just makes you feel better.
Yes.
Good.
You know, Colleen, this may not have anything to do with nutrition, but I guess the older that we get, there's this mindset that we need supplements for whatever reason. Do you?
Well, we think we need supplements because the TV keeps telling us we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we really don't. I mean, if we are eating enough calories, enough, and really just really enough fiber. If we eat enough calories and enough fiber, we don't really need to supplement. If we are eating that 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day that they're saying that we need, or that I'm telling you that you need, you're going to get all of the vitamins, all of the nutrients that your body needs. You don't, I mean, for some people, you don't even have to, eat animal products at all. I mean, vegan diets are very healthy as long as you're eating enough carbohydrate or enough fiber, really. So, because if you're eating the fiber, then you're generally getting enough vitamins and minerals for your health. So, again, I think that we used to say it's kind of an insurance policy to take that multivitamin. If it makes you feel better, good. But I don't really think that most people need it. Most people meaning if they're eating a healthy diet, they generally don't need that extra supplement. They're expensive, and you generally don't, especially the water soluble vitamins, anything but vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. You're gonna just lose it in your urine anyway. So I think that if you're taking them now and it's making you feel at least calmer and making it feel a little bit like you're doing something good for yourself, then that's great. But most people probably don't need it.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for Colleen? Colleen, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so very
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
No problem. You're welcome.